Well, election season is upon us, and I know it's like July 8th, but there is a Republican primary taking place in 55A once again here in 2020. So, what that means is August 11th, you can go down and cast your ballot in this Republican primary. In fact, early voting started June 26th, so you can already vote. You could go down or you could go request a mail-in ballot by going to the Secretary of State's website. But I wanted to cut this video. I'll try to keep this brief, which I think is going to be tough. There's a lot to talk about. But with election season upon us, and we've already been door knocking for a couple weeks, and it has not been nice out. It's 90s out there. But we've had some amazing people coming out and helping to knock on doors. In fact, yesterday I had a pastor from down the road come out, and it was so humbling when he said he has never walked or knocked on doors for any political candidate in his lifetime. But he came out last night for 3 hours with me, and in fact, he said he nearly got his wife out, and he said she's really just doesn't typically get involved in politics at all. So when I hear stuff like that, it's sincerely so humbling, and it's honestly crazy for me to think about that people are drawn that much to what I've been talking about and trying to do, and that's really protect the American dream for future generations. That's the most succinctly way I can put this. That we need to restore the American ideals that we've been watching erode away for generations now. So, with the primary going on, and you're going to find us out there a lot. We have, 4 or 5 people almost every day that are out there just knocking on doors and are hopefully having great conversations with people. But we're definitely leaving behind, and I don't have one on my desk here, but we're leaving behind our literature. And I know the other people running for office are doing the same, and it can get to be a little much. So I want to apologize in advance for the amount of literature you're probably going to see over the next, just over a month. August 11th is the primary day. But it's so important to get the message out there as to who I am, why I'm running, what I care about. And in a nutshell, the reason I'm running, and I know everybody that's running for office says this, and I get it, but hopefully you can see my conviction for this. But when I look at what's happening in the world and how our country has been, we've been watching our freedoms just erode. Constantly for generations now. But you've watched, it's happening quicker now. We're seeing what's happening in Minneapolis and Seattle, frankly, all across the country. And it really concerns me that the time to right our ship it's quickly running out now. And I've got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. And when I look at them, I can't help but really worry about what quality of life they're going to have. And hopefully someday I'll see my grandkids. And I really worry what quality of life they're going to have. So I feel compelled to fight on their behalf. We've got big government Republicans and, of course, massive government Democrats out there that just continually chip away and erode away at our pocketbook and at our rights. My philosophy, though, is I would much rather trust my neighbors with more freedom than the government and politicians in particular with more power. And I think that's the right course to take. So fundamentally, that's why I'm running. I feel like we've got to protect the American dream for future generations so they have the same opportunities, if not more, that we've enjoyed. So sorry in advance for all the literature. It's going to happen. And what I think is great, and it gives me comfort, it makes me feel like I'm on the right track, is there are going to be people, the Democrats are going to be attacking me, and so is the political establishment Republicans. They attacked me 2 years ago. They try to call me a never-Trumper, and that I wouldn't protect life. And it was so ridiculous and absurd. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but you can kind of tell up here, maybe, that I framed them. I thought, this is so outlandish and outrageous that they're going to attack me for these ridiculous things that are, of course, not true. I'm the most conservative candidate in this race, and they're trying to claim that I'm some never-Trumper or that I'm not pro-life. It's insane. But anyway, they're going to come at me again. But when both parties are attacking me, it makes me feel like I must be doing something right. And I think most people would agree with that. So, the things that we're out there talking to people about and the things you'll see on a lot of the literature that we're bringing to people is a handful of things. One, we need to free the economy. The governor in all of his wisdom, since he is some all-knowing being apparently who knows what's best for us. We don't know how to take care of ourselves. If it wasn't for that governor, boy, I don't know how I'd manage to get through my day. He is on his 5th month of his 30-day emergency powers. So do that math. 30-day emergency powers, but he's on his 5th month. So freeing the economy means a bunch of things, but first and foremost, it's freeing the economy from the grips of Governor Walz. The legislature, especially the Democratic House, they've essentially outsourced all the decision making to their Democratic governor. You know, God forbid that they stand against their Democratic governor for his unconstitutional orders. They couldn't do that. So we need to put up a good fight when it comes to that. Then obviously to free the economy just means free markets. You know, the market should be free to function without regulation. So it means deregulation. In the same vein, it also means, and this is a personal kind of thing for me, so sorry, occupational licensing. Having to get the government's permission to go out and open a company and to start into some sort of a profession. That is so crazy to me. And I think it was founded on the notion that consumers need to be protected. We need to make sure people know what they're doing. But there's this little thing, and I think you've all heard of it. It's called the World Wide Web. I could go to Google and look at any contractor, any company, and see what kind of ratings they have. So the consumer is far more powerful, and the markets are far more knowledgeable than any government bureaucrat is ever going to be. And the argument that, well, let's say a contractor, if they pass their general contractor's license, then therefore they must know what they're doing and they must be a good contractor. I have a hunch anybody watching this would say they've had some pretty bad experiences with licensed contractors. So just because you have a license, it doesn't mean you're any good. In fact, I would say some of the best people out there, they have a God-given talent. And they can go out there and do amazing things. But they've got this burden of getting a license. And of course, that drives up the cost for these things. So anyway, freeing the economy, that's what I'm talking about. Protecting the unborn. You know, as much as we all like to think if you're a Republican and you're in the office, you're a state senator, you're a state representative, well, you must be pro-life. But the vast majority of Republican lawmakers in St. Paul have been voting repeatedly to fund Planned Parenthood and just publicly fund abortions. They all try to deny it, but it's plain as day. It's there. And then once they realize that it is true, then they try to defend it with Supreme Court, Doe versus Gomez. But if there's one thing that you're not going to compromise on, that's worth standing firm on, isn't it protecting life? I think so. So we need to introduce life and conception legislation. So I will do that at the Capitol. Protecting and expanding the Second Amendment. Boy, when you see what has been happening across the country, it's funny, the CHAs or CHOP or whatever they called themselves in Seattle, the moment that they put up barriers, they built a wall to protect their territory. Oh, the irony in this. And then they had armed guards on their wall with AR-15s. And of course, I guarantee over the last couple of years, every single person that were standing there with ARs and standing behind the walls that they built, I'm sure they all said how dangerous ARs are and how walls are somehow racist. But when they've got their little 6-block territory, that's the first things that they do. So, it's the hypocrisy here. You just can't make this stuff up. So, and there could be no more debate why we need 30-round magazines or why we need AR-15s. It's because of the chaos, the lawlessness that's happening in Minneapolis. If we don't start, nipping that in the bud, this is going to get hairy. But unfortunately, the Democrats, they want to just defund the police. That's their answer. The common sense is just evaporated with so many people in office. So we need to expand the Second Amendment. So I have signed pledges to introduce constitutional carry legislation, and I've signed a pledge to sponsor stand your ground legislation. I've signed so many pledges, and I try to post them as soon as I'm done. Cut and eliminate taxes. So I think we need to put Minnesota on the path of a zero income tax state. There are many states that have no income tax. It's perfectly feasible. So we need to start going down that path. And a great example is Social Security income. There should be no income tax on that. but we're one of, I think, 8 states that still tax Social Security benefits. And we're losing seniors, and it's heartbreaking because it tears families apart. Grandparents are moving to South Dakota, and they're not able to see their kids, their grandkids as often, but it's a more affordable place to live. So those are the things that we're really out there talking about. And I wanted to make sure that everybody knew who I am, what I'm out here talking about, because I'm not going to be able to get to everybody, right? I'd love to be able to get around to every single house in the next 33 days, but it's just not going to happen. So share this video. Make sure your neighbors see this. Make sure as many people in the community see this as possible, because on August 11th, there's going to be a big decision that the Republicans in this district are going to make. And it's going to be, do they want a conservative champion that's concerned about the future of the nation and wants to protect the American dream? Or do they want an establishment Republican that's more concerned about apparently being in power and feeding their self-esteem and being a lawmaker to, I don't know, attend cocktail parties or whatever the big deal is? But I tell you, having met a lot of lawmakers, because when you run for office, you meet these people. It's just it's weird how you get to meet people. But what I've come to learn, and I don't say this lightly, their position, being a state senator or a state representative, I have seen it firsthand that it defines them. It is who they are at their very core. And when that gets threatened, when who you are at your very core gets threatened, you respond and you will do anything you need to do to protect that. And that's going against your principles, that's saying whatever you need to do, doing whatever you need to do to protect that. And unfortunately, that's what so many politicians, they're more concerned about winning elections than they are about delivering results for their constituents. And results, like my webpage says, that's all I care about. I don't care about politics. I don't care about political correction. I care about delivering results to you. Go to mortforhouse.com. Join us. Come door knocking. You can, if you want a yard sign, you can click on the yard sign button. Make a donation there. But join this fight for restoring our republic, because we're running out of time. Mortforhouse.com. Again, share this video. Make sure people see it. Thanks for watching.